What's up guys, Zach from Wire Customs, and today I'm going to show you how to tear down a Stromberg 94 and also what to look for when purchasing an 80-90-year-old carburetor. So what we're going to be tearing apart is this 94 right here. It's still on the intake. For what I know, the car that I got it off of has been sitting for like 40-50 years at least. So it's a little stuck. All I've done before I started recording was the last couple weeks I just come over here and spray it with penetrating oil. As I'm working on other projects, so that's a good habit to have. Just penetrating oil while you're doing other things. And when you finally get time to work on something like this, it's already been soaking for the last couple weeks. Alright, so let's start with taking a carburetor off the manifold. Hopefully nothing breaks. So if a carburetor is frozen up, it doesn't mean that it's completely ruined. It can still be salvageable sometimes, not every time. So what I've been doing is spraying it with PB Blaster. Then I've gotten my smallest hammer that I own, and I just kept tapping the choke back and forth until it finally loosened up. PB Blaster, tap, PB Blaster, tap, in all the areas that everything's moving. PB Blaster, tap it, and now the choke actually moves like how it should, so that's good. So far I haven't been as successful with the throttle plate. The throttle plate's pretty stuck. Let's see if we can tap that back and forth and anything happens. Not as smooth as I want it, but it's not stuck anymore. Alright, let's start taking this apart. What I like to start off with is the choke linkage right here. So go ahead and take that off. Now after you take the choke linkage off, be careful, there's a spring and detent behind it. So I'm going to pull this out. Be mindful of the spring and detent right here. Hopefully it comes out easy. If not, I have to grab it with some pliers. So I gave it a little bit of a tap to loosen that up. Pull that out. And I like to save everything until I have it completely rebuilt. Then I can determine what I don't need after the fact. Okay, so this upper choke plate, these screws right here, back in the day they didn't have thread lock. So they would screw this down, they'd get a center punch and center punch one of the sides of the screws so it mushrooms and holds the screw in place. So be mindful of that. A lot of times these screws can break coming out, so that's why I always try to determine if I actually want to take it off or not. So if you wanted to take it out, all you have to do is remove these two screws. The throttle plate would come out, or the choke plate, whatever you'd like to call it. Then the shaft will pull out the side. The plate's the only thing that's holding the shaft in. Alright, so next we're going to take this upper housing off. We have 3 screws right here above the bowl. Then we have 2 more screws right here in the back. So we're going to take these off. Another thing I would check is for aluminum on these threads on all the bolts that you're taking out. That would show you if the housing is actually coming apart with it as you're taking it apart. Now hopefully you should be able to pry the top off just by wiggling it back and forth, or just a slight dead blow right here. The smallest dead blow you got, don't hit it too hard. It should pop straight up. You don't want to cant it because we don't want to mess up the float. Not every rebuild kit comes with a float. So there's a nice surprise, a bunch of dead bugs in my float. That shows you how long it's been since this is ran. Now when you take the float off, it should be very simple. There should be no pressure needed. You should just push this pin out that's right here. Be able to pull it out. Then the float should come right off. So always check your floats really carefully. By all means, eyeball it as best you can to make sure it doesn't look too beat up. But what I would recommend is putting it, submerging it in some kind of water and see if any bubbles come out. You do not want a float bowl that leaks and fills full of gas. Now once you get that out, be careful, do not lose your little check valve right here. It just pulls right out. That's simple. Now make sure you use a really big flathead screwdriver that goes all the way across. Go ahead and unscrew this. and pull this out. Okay, next I'm going to take the throttle cam off right here. It's this flathead. Be mindful of the spring that's behind it when you take it off. Don't let it shoot out and go flying. Mine's a little bit stuck on the housing. Slide pry off, there we go. While I'm working at the linkage, this linkage for the pump right here should technically pry off. Be careful so you don't bend it up though. So what I'm going to do is pry it out. It has multiple notches to choose from. So I'm going to pry it out from the notches. Now I'm going to attempt to pry it out of the pump here. Like I said, mine's a little crusty. Okay, don't be afraid to work it out. There it is. Okay, so side note, some of these pump drives actually have a C-clip right here on the back side, so be mindful. Neither one of mine had it, but watch out for that C-clip so you don't just pry it out and break it. Alright, now that linkage actually also holds in the pump itself, so pull that out. Usually uses just a tiny bit of force to just kind of bounce it out. So now if you're having a really hard time getting that pump out, what you need to do is clean this shaft really good. Get a Scotch-Brite pad, clean it up, it'll come out easier that way. Now you can do this now or later, but to take apart this pump, when you rebuild it, you're going to have to take it apart. Just pry the spring down here, then it slides off the shaft. The spring tension is what keeps it together. Okay, push it down, slide it up off the shaft. My gloves are getting in the way. Now don't shoot this across the room. Slightly let it go. It comes apart just like that. Okay, so now we're going to take the cluster assemblies out. It's just these 4 screws right here. I have never had an issue with taking these out, so they should be pretty easy to come off. Now if you're ordering a rebuild kit, pay attention right here on the clusters. They have the tall clusters and the short clusters. The easiest way to tell between the two is that these bridges are different sizes if you have the one with the tall cluster. Now if I look at mine, these bridges are both the exact same size, so I don't have the tall cluster. Now just wiggle these out and pull the fuel clusters out. That's what the fuel cluster looks like. And here's the fuel squirter. That should come out. Don't drop it. Now after you take the squirter out, there's a check valve right underneath it. So tip it upside down, make sure you catch that check valve. So now what we have left for the bowl is the jet well plugs right here in the front. So make sure you get the biggest screwdriver you can that fits in these. Now with those out of the way, we can get to the main jets that are on the inside. So I'm going to put my screwdriver through it. Put my screwdriver through it and get to the jet that's on the inside in there and unscrew that. Okay, so down inside the pump, there's a little circle ring that holds a check valve in. All you have to do is pry up that ring, get the ring out, and the check valve comes right out. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is take the base off. There's 2 screws right here in the back, then 1 screw from the bottom right here. We have one thing left with the bowl. That's the power valve right here on the bottom. It should be a 1-inch. A 1-inch wrench should take it off nice and easy. It should not be hard to come off. Didn't take much. Power valve out. Now the bowl is completely disassembled. Now on the base assembly, pretty simple. Remove the mixture screws. And if you're going to take your throttle plates off, be mindful which side the bevel is on. It's really important when you take it off. The bevel on the throttle plates should be on the bottom, so when it's open, the bevel should be on the bottom of the base plate. Now if you want to take these off, again, it's just these 4 screws. The plates come off and it should slide right out. So that's how you take a 94 completely apart. We didn't miss anything, we didn't skip anything. So I hope this video helps you out. It's going to be a multiple part video. We're going to rebuild it in another one. We're going to tune it in another one later after I get my engine rebuilt. I'm going to show you how to tune these vintage carburetors. If you have any questions, please shoot them down in the comment section. I'll answer everything. If you appreciated this video, just give it a like or share it. And as always, thank you for watching.